Talk. Super honored today to have Mr. Peter Hickman. Good morning, sir.
How you doing, all right?
International Road Racer of the Year, right?
That's the one.
It's pretty awesome. So what we usually do is we start off with some coffee. I'll give you the nickel tour of the shop. And I have something that back here that's very unusual that I think you will think is cool.
Sounds good.
So,
Looking forward to a look around, actually.
well, 4 years ago we met in Vegas. I was honored to meet you then. I've been watching what you've been doing. It is exceptionally incredible.
Thank you very
So,
much.
5 races and 5 podiums at Isle of Man, right?
Yeah, that was in 2017, and then last year I did just a couple of podiums, and then my first 2 wins at the Isle of Man. So that was pretty special.
So for those of you who haven't watched the Isle of Man, you must live on their loaf of bread. It is one of the most viewed sporting events in the world. It's where some people call, and correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, a lot of people call it madness.
Yeah, I kind of get introduced as the nutcase a lot of the time.
So these guys are racing on the Isle of Man on motorcycles, and I believe that your current average lap speed is the record, right? Around
Yeah,
135 miles an hour or something like that?
135.4 mile an hour average. It's pretty much a 38 mile course. So yeah, it was a good year for myself and the Smiths racing team. It's the fastest lap in history. Pretty cool.
And you ride a BMW.
Yeah, BMW S1000RR. So basically a street bike that anyone can go and buy. The team's obviously modified it. Smiths Racing kind of get the bike as a road bike, the lights, the number plate on it, and then they modify everything to make it into a race bike. To me, that's kind of like a get you some of that moment, because back in the day, super bikes to me were kind of like those Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki. Yeah. And BMW, this is their first kind of sports bike that they've ever made. They brought it out in 2009, 2010. It's had some updates over the years, but in essence, it's the same bike that it was back in 2009. And for us to put the fastest lap in ever at the Isle of Man TT, so 113 years, 112 years it's been going for. 1907 was the first ever TT. So for BMW to come with basically a new concept for them and to win the TT is epic.
It's amazing to watch. I mean, when you watch it, to me it looks like you're giving it all you've got. Are you literally just giving it all you got?
Pretty much.
Is there anything left?
There definitely wasn't much left on that last lap anyway, but 2018 the weather was really, really good. We had 2 weeks of pretty much pure sunshine, which never happens on the Isle of Man. If any of you have been to the Isle of Man, you never get that for 2 weeks, and that meant that we got lots of practice as riders, and it meant that the track got a lot of rubber on it, so the track got grippier and grippier over the 2 weeks, which led to all the races, in fact, had a new lap record. So every single race.
You're running so hard. It's amazing how often, and I'm sure you feel this all the time, how often the motorcycle actually comes off the ground.
Yeah, we're off the floor quite a lot. I said the average speed is 135 miles an hour. Our slowest speed is probably only 15 or 20 mile an hour around a few of the bends. So for the majority of the lap, we're well over 160 miles an hour. So. And they're just normal roads, it's not a race circuit, it is, but they're normal roads, so there's a lot of jumps, there's a lot of kind of blind crests and stuff, and when you're doing 160 mile an hour, you're off the floor.
So have you run it enough now, you know where the dips and the crests and the curves and when you're going to be off the ground and when you're going to wheelie and when you're not going to wheelie?
Exactly that. I can anticipate what the bike's going to do before it does it, and a lot of the TT is about knowledge. So this last year was my 5th year there. So not massive amount of time, but I put a lot of effort into it.
Well, you've absolutely crushed it.
I'm a quick learner, so
I think I saw one of your quotes. You said this is something you're born with. This isn't something you're going to learn.
Yeah, pretty much. Especially kind of reading the road and understanding what's coming without knowing sometimes as well is.
And I believe this. I mean, I rode motorcycles for a long, long time. To me, when you're riding with some guys in a group, you know the guys that you don't want to be anywhere near. They shouldn't be on the bike, right?
Yeah.
It's similar to car racing too. The guys that are generally the best at it were born with it.
Yeah, just a natural talent or a natural feel for something.
Do you ride any other type of bikes? Like, do you do any motocross?
Well, funnily, I'm here in Texas, not only to come and see you guys, but I'm riding at the Colin Edwards boot camp, which is just above Houston in Montgomery, which is flat track, which is really, really big in America. I'm sure you all know. We're riding smaller bikes, so they're only TTR 125 Yamahas, but the feeling and the feel that you get from it is very similar to what I do anyway. So it's really good training for my short circuit racing that I do back in the UK.
When I'm watching you and you're running so hard, especially when you're leading the pack, to me it looks like you're also an expert at motocross, and I don't know that. No, but just the way you throw the bike around and the way you ride it, and it doesn't look like you're riding a street bike. You're just powering through stuff.
Yeah, and actually I've never done a lot of dirt riding, never done a lot of motocross or anything like that. It's all been kind of road racing or short circuit racing for me. It's only these last few years I've been doing Edwards boot camp now for this has been my 4th year. And that's the most amount of dirt riding I've done, but I've actually even got a dirt bike back home now since coming over here to Texas to learn about dirt track.
I remember one of the cool things when I first met you that you taught me. I was like, "You're awfully big for a motorcycle rider."
Yeah.
And then you told me, what's the horsepower in your BMW right now?
So the bike I rode last year is 235 horsepower at the rear wheel. So if you measure that like a car, it's probably 260, 270 at the crank, but it only weighs 165 kilos.
So your horsepower to weight ratio is unreal. And these smaller guys can't handle the power anymore. You're big enough that you can move the bike around.
Especially the TT.
Yeah, but if you're too small, you can't move that type of horsepower bike around.
Yeah, because I'm long, so I'm 6'1", 6'2" nearly. So I've got a lot of leverage. I can move the bike around a lot easier than somebody who's small. So you tend to find the smaller guys have to be a lot more musclier because they have to hang on to the bike, you know. When it's got that kind of horsepower and that kind of weight, it just wants to go in a straight line. It doesn't want to move.
Sure.
So you have to force it. So the little guys have to move around a lot. I can kind of use my leverage to be able to pull the bike around easier.
Now, 5 races, 5 podiums. Those were on different bikes, though, weren't they?
Yes. So I ride in 3 or 4 different classes at the TT. Anything from a lightweight bike, which is like a Kawasaki ER6 road bike again, that's been modified, so 650 twin.
Right.
Up to a 600cc, I ride a Triumph 675 cc 3-cylinder Triumph, which is the Supersport class. I ride a Superstock Bike, which is a BMW again, so it's the same S1000RR that I ride in the Superbike, but as the name suggests, Superstock, it's much more stock.
Sure.
So it's really, really close to what anybody that you can ride on the road. Standard brakes, standard wheels, obviously standard engines. We can change exhaust, rear suspension, front internal suspension, but standard forks. Everything else, pretty much stock. You know, handlebars and footrest maybe, but other than that, everything else is standard.
So for those of you out there in motorcycle racing or any type of racing, to jump on different CC bikes and actually win, because correct me if I'm wrong, most of these guys train on one bike in one class to try to win that class.
Mainly so, yeah. Especially like the British Superbike Championship, which is kind of my main thing that I do all the time. It's just one class and one bike, and you get the most out of it. When we go road racing, quite a few of the riders tend to ride different bikes because you just get more time on the circuit, and it's almost more about circuit knowledge than it is about learning your bike. The only difference with that is when you're jumping from a small bike to a big bike, the gear pattern's different, the braking pattern's different,
Sure.
The way the bike reacts is different, so you have to kind of pick that up fast.
From the guys I've talked to, he's being very humble. What he does is nearly impossible. So here's my lead into what I want to see if you'll ride.
Okay.
I got an old school, big horsepower from the 1930s, something.
So
Let's see if you ride it.
Oh yeah. Oh, Morgan.
Yeah, so I've got a 1934 Morgan Supersport.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's got, people call this the Jap engine, the JAP,
Yeah.
John Alfred Prestwich. Okay, so this was around 1100cc version.
Yeah, they're all wood as well, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, it's all wooden. Yeah.
Okay, so in 1934, these were clocked at 115 miles an hour. Would you drive this or ride this, however you want to look at it, on the Isle of Man at 115 miles an hour?
It doesn't look safe enough to do 115 miles an hour.
I agree. But that's what they say.
Yeah, epic looking thing as well, aren't they?
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So would you give that a go?
I'll give it a go. I'll give anything a go.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. He didn't say no. Again, it's a super honor to have you, Pete.
Hey,
awesome. And it's his Instagram is Peter Hickey Racer.
I'm Hickey Racer 60 on Instagram, Peter Hickman 60 on either Facebook or Twitter as well. So hit me up if you want to come and say hello.
Hey, thanks for watching. Again, I'm honored to have the world's most famous motorcycle rider and the world's fastest motorcycle rider here at Collins Motors. Have a great day.
Good to be here. Cheers.